Real talk. If you ever sat there copying names, prices, or links off a website into a spreadsheet one by one, you already know the pain. It's slow, it's mind-numbing, and you lose your place constantly. Here's the good news. A computer can do that exact job in minutes without getting bored. That's all web scraping is. And don't worry, this is way simpler than people make it out to be. Scraping basically automate data collection is just teaching your computer to read a web page the way you do, but faster, and grab only the bits you care about. No magic, no hacking, nothing shady. So watch this video to the end, and I'll show you a clean scraping setup for Web Scraping 101, how to get your IP and fingerprint clean so you don't get blocked, and how to get 2 gigabytes of free proxies so you can start extracting data with way less risk. Checkpoint. Scraping equals a computer reading a page and grabbing the data you want. Let's break down how it actually works. Every scrape is the same 4 steps. Honestly, 1. Fetch the page your program downloads it, just like the browser does when you visit a site. 2. Read the HTML. That's the code skeleton behind every web page. The tag that says, this is a heading, this is a price, this is a link. 3. Pick out the parts you want. This is called parsing, which just means sifting through the code to pull out specific pieces. And number 4, save it to a file. That's the whole loop. Quick honest moment, because pros mentioned this in passing. Stick to publicity accessible data. Take a peek at the site's robots.txt, its rules for robots note, and its term of service before you start. Don't grab people's personal info without a real legal person. And don't pound the servers with a flood of requests. Be a polite guest. Checkpoint. Fetch. Read the HTML, parse out what you want, save it, and be respectful. Now, why are some pages easy and some a nightmare? It all comes down to static versus dynamic. A static page hands you all of its data right in the HTML the moment it loads. Easy, grab it and go. A dynamic page is different. It loads mostly empty, then JavaScript, the code that builds parts of the page after it opens, fills in the data a second later. Think of it like a vending machine that empties until you press a button. For those, a simple downloader sees an empty shelf, so you need a real browser that actually runs the JavaScript. Before you write anything, do this one habit. Open the site in your browser. Right-click the thing you want, a price, a title, and choose Inspect. A panel pops up, open showing the HTML behind it. That's how you find exactly which tags holds your data. Inspect first, code second, always. This inspect trick is a game changer because it removes all the guesswork. Instead of staring at a wall of code, you zero in on exact element holding your data. Maybe it's wrapped in a heading tag with a specific class name or sitting inside a container that has an ID. Once you know the structure, writing the code to pull it out feels way less intimidating and a lot more like following a clear path. Start with static pages while you're learning. They're forgiving and let you focus on the basics without extra complication. As you get comfortable, you'll naturally move into handling dynamic sites with browser automation libraries. And through it all, that polite guest mindset keeps everything sustainable, scrape responsibly, and the web stays open for everyone who plays by the rules. Checkpoint. Static pages are easy. Dynamic pages need a real browser, and you always inspect before coding. Now, the part nobody warns beginners about, blocking. The moment you scrape anything bigger, a marketplace, a search engine, a busy directory, the site's anti-bot system kicks in. That's the security guard that decides who's a real human and who's a robot. It watches 2 things: your behavior, are you going humanly fast, and your fingerprint. Basically your browser's ID card made of details like your screen size, fonts, time zone, and graphics info, all bundled into something identifiable. Default browsers broadcast a very bot-like card when automated, so we fixed the card with the anti-detector browser. Here's what I mean in plain words. An anti-detector browser swaps your broadcast ID card for a clean, normal-looking one, lets you run several separate identities at once, and plugs a proxy, borrowing someone else's internet connection so the site sees their address instead of yours, into each one. Alright, let me show you exactly how I set this up in GoLogin. Open GoLogin. Top right corner, click Add Profile. A new profile appears with a name and a stack of fingerprint settings already filled in. Beginner tip, don't touch them. GoLogin already picked a clean, believable combination, and messing with it by hand usually means you look weirder, not safer. Now the proxy. Inside that profile, find the proxy section in the settings panel and paste it in your proxy details. The address, port, username, and password your provider gives you 4 little fields. The nice part, you don't set the time zone or language anywhere. GoLogin reads the proxy and matches the time zone, language, and location to wherever that IP lives automatically. Then hit run on the right side of your profile row. A fresh browser window is open. That's your clean identity. Checkpoint. Clean ID card plus borrow address equals a profile that looks human. Now prove it before scraping. Open a new tab in that GoLogin window and go to iphay.com. It's a free site that checks if you look human. Wait a few seconds. You want the word trustworthy in green. Here's what it checks and why each one matters. Your IP class, whether your address looks like a normal home connection, residential, or an obvious server, which is a data center and easy to flag. Fingerprint consistency, do all of your ID card detail agree with each other, where RTC leaks, a sneaky feature that can leak your real address even behind a proxy. You want no leak. And time zone and language match, your clock and language lining up with the proxy location. The reason this matters, the anti-bot guard checks these exact same signals, so green means it has nothing obvious to flag. Quick real example. An SEO specialist checking search results across regions. They just used their normal Chrome with the automation tool, no clean profile, and the site flagged the bot-like fingerprint instantly and threw up a Captcha wall. That clicked all the traffic lights puzzled. A clean GoLogin profile checked green on IPA first would have slipped right past it. Checkpoint. Green on IPA every time before you scrape. Then start tiny. Don't unleash anything. Pull just 5 or 10 items first and eyeball them. Did you get the right data? The reason this works, if your setup's broken, you find out in 30 seconds instead of after 1,000 bad requests. Then pace yourself. Add a small random delay, a few seconds between requests, so you look human, not like a machine gun. Finally, save your result. CSV, a plain text file that opens like a spreadsheet, is perfect for simple rows like names and prices. JSON, a structured data format, is better for nested stuff. Quick real example. An e-commerce researcher tracking competitor prices. Clean profile, good proxy, but they ran it flat out with 0 delays. The site soft blocked them, a quiet block where pages still load, but you feed you junk. The same ghost listings repeating. Adding a 2 to 5 second delay brought the real data back overnight. Let me bust 3 minutes fast. A lot of people think you always need to write code to scrape. Reality, for static pages, inspect plus a tiny script is plenty. You don't need a huge framework for a simple job. A lot of people think a clean anti-detector browser alone makes you invisible, so speed doesn't matter. Reality, a perfect ID card moving at robot speed still gets caught. Identity and pacing are a team. A lot of people think scraping any public data is automatically legal everywhere. Reality, public doesn't mean anything goes. Personal data and the site's terms still matter, so stay aware. Now, what changes if your situation's different? If you're scraping at a static HTML site instead of a heavy dynamic one, here are what changes. You can skip the real browser overhead and use a lightweight downloader. It's faster and simpler because the data is already sitting in the HTML. And if you move from a one-time scrape to an ongoing daily job, here's what changes. You'll want several GoLogin profiles, each with its own separate proxy, running on a schedule so the load spreads out and no single identity gets worn down. GoLogin fits because each profile stays fully isolated. They don't bleed into each other. A quick if this then that rules for your back pocket. If the page loads empty and the data only appears a second later, then it's dynamic. Use a real browser that runs JavaScript, not a bare downloader. If you see a 429, an error meaning too many requests, then slow down. Add randomized delays and rotate your IP. If you hit a Captcha wall, then ease off the pace, switch to residential or mobile proxies, the home and phone connection, IP types that looks most human. In the troubleshooting one, if IP haze shows a red flag, a web RTC leak, or a fingerprint mismatch, then don't scrape yet. Delete that profile and make a fresh one before you start. Quick honest trade-off. Residential proxies cost more and run slower than cheap data center ones. That's the price of looking human. And no setup guarantees 0 blocks. A clean one just stacks the odds your way. Anyone promising never blocked ever is selling something. So recap, scraping is just fetch the page, read the HTML, parse what you want, save it. Static pages are easy. Dynamic ones need a real browser. Inspect first, then build a clean GoLogin profile, paste the proxy, hit run, confirm green on IP haze. Test small, pace yourself, and save to a CSV or JSON. That's web scraping 101 start to finish, and you can run it yourself right now. If you want to replicate this web scraping 101 setup to get 40% off and claim the 2 GB free proxies, click my link in the description or the pinned comment.